What's up, guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Cello the Fashion Fairy. If you're stopping by for the first time, you're welcome. Please subscribe. If you're a returning subscriber, you're welcome back. Thank you for sticking around with me. If you want to learn how I made this beautiful maxi gown, definitely keep watching. See you in my tutorial. Hello soul fairies, and welcome to class. So in today's tutorial we'll be looking at how to make a maxi gown without joining. So essentially this is your Ankara fabric and this is the selvage and the other part is the selvage. So we'll be folding it from one selvage to the other. So essentially if you wanted to make your Ankara, the length of your Ankara would be 45 inches. We'll be folding it the other way so that we will sew this thing without a joining. So I'm going to show you with my fabric how I'm able to achieve this. So this is what we have. This is the Ankara fabric that we'll be working with. If you want to know the entire length that you'll be using, just walk with me. I will tell you how to get that. So this is the Ankara fabric and I'll be folding it this part to that part, so the selvage to the selvage, and then we'll be using the width of this Ankara instead of the length. So in order to determine the length of the fabric that you will be needing, you're going to do your full measurement minus 4 times 2 and then plus 2 inches of sewing allowance. So because we're going to do off shoulder of minus 4, that is the reason why we're minusing 4 from this. So I folded my fabric again into 2 and then I'm just showing you the entire length that I'm working with, which is about 59 inches, I beg your pardon, and this includes the sewing allowance I'll be needing. So plus 4 inches that we'll be using as the off shoulder will give you the entire length that you will need for this. So this is the part that is folded, and that's where we will be deriving all our horizontal measurements from. So essentially this is what we have, and because it's going to be an off shoulder, you're going to determine how off you want it to be. So me, I want it to be minus 4 inches, but I'll also be adding ½ inch to it. So I'll be using 3.5 inches to do this. And for the width of this upper part, you're going to be measuring your chest like so, and whatever you have as your chest measurement, you are going to be dividing that by 2. So I got about 12 inches, divided that by 2 and it was 6, and then I marked 6.5 at that point. So for us to know where our chest line is, we're going to be doing, remember we're doing minus 3.5 inches, so we're going to be marking our 9 inches right there plus ½ inch of sewing allowance, and it's going to be 9.5. So that's where the 9.5 inches is, and that's where we'll be marking our bust measurement. So for the depth of the front, that's this point, you'll be determining where you want it, and for me I want it as 6 inches. So I'll be marking 5.5 inches at that point, measuring bearing in mind that we're doing an off shoulder of 3.5. so I'll be connecting it from this point to this center point like so. Just walk with me on this, guys, and you will not regret it. So for our bust measurement, we're going to be measuring it on our chest line, and you're going to be doing your full bust measurement divided by 4, and that's what I'm doing with my tape. So if you divide that by 4, I should get about 10 inches, 10 plus. So I marked it right there, and that's my bust measurement. And I'll be adding 1 inch, and the 1 inch should be for ease. I wouldn't want this to be fitted on my body at all. And then I'll also be adding ½ inch of sewing allowance. So essentially I added 1.5 inches to this. So I'll be connecting from that new neckline all the way to the armhole like so. Make sure it's not so curvy so that it doesn't look weird when you finish doing it. So we're almost half done with this. The other thing is to connect it from that very point all the way down to the length of this gown. So I'm going to be using my ruler, and I'm going to be using 2 rulers for this so that I will be able to get a straight line. So if you don't have 2 rulers, it's okay, just take your time and make sure you have a straight line at the end of this so that the sides will be straight when you are sewing it. So you can see that I struggled a bit getting a straight line but it doesn't matter if you mark this as many times as required, just for you to make sure you have perfect sides. So I still went in to make sure that I came out with a straight line by the side. So essentially the lower part of it, I don't like it to be straight. So at this point I marked 3 inches and I connected it back to my the end of this gown. So this is what it looks like, and I'll just go ahead and cut this out. So we have the front and the back already. So that's what makes this this style very, very nice, because you can cut the back and the front the same. So it doesn't have any back and it doesn't have any front. Okay, so for the pockets, I would be using this leftover fabric that I cut out, and I'll be using it. You can see that it's 4 pieces, so I'll be using it to cut my pockets. If you don't know how to do this, please go back to my channel, and there's a video, entire video dedicated to this. So this is what I have so far for it. And for the facing, for the neckline, of course we're not going to be using bias to turn this, so I decided to also use a scrap material instead of cutting a fresh one. So ideally this should be on fold, the middle part should be on fold, but since I didn't want to cut it, I decided to add 1/2 inch there as my sewing allowance, and I notched the part where I would sew it in. So marking 3 inches, I just connected everything all the way. So when I join the middle part, is going to serve as one facing. So this is what we have so far, and I'll just go ahead and cut my sleeve. So before you cut your sleeve, make sure you measure your armhole, and whatever we have at this point, it will be helping us cut this sleeve. So don't forget that what the sleeve that we are working with is flutter sleeve. So we're going to be cutting a circle. So just fold your fabric into 2, and then I will show you what else to do. So once you've measured that, once you've folded that, remember what we measured, right? So we are going to make sure we have at least 2 of it. So because we're going to be gathering this, so I ended up using about 10.5 inches, and I measured it and made sure I had a perfect curve at this point. So after marking this out, I measured a length of 11.5 inches. Now the trick to getting the length of the sleeve is to make sure that it covers the armhole on the gown armhole. Make sure it covers it so that it can turn it perfectly. So I'm going to show you what I mean right now. So this is the gown here, and this is the armhole. So I made sure that what I have as my sleeve covered the entire armhole. So I'm going to be needing 2 of this, so I'll quickly cut out 2, 1 for each sleeve, and then I'll also notch the middle part just so I know where it is. So for the part that will be under my armhole, I decided to shape it just a little bit so that it gives me that curve. So and I'll do that quickly, cut it out. This is totally optional, you mustn't do it, you can leave it as it is. So this is what we have so far, and we'll be needing something to use and form a tunnel so that we can pass our elastic. So this is me trying to cut kind of a facing, making sure that the middle part, that's the folded part, aligns with a folded part of this scrap. So folded edge to folded edge, I made sure I had at least 3 inches. You can go for a shorter one, you can go for 2.5 and cut 2 of that. So after cutting the 2, this is what it looks like, and this is how I will be placing it, no, the other way, and then I will be turning it in and forming a tunnel for my elastic. So let's move straight to the sewing table. So this is what we have so far. I've already joined the middle part of this first one, so I'm just going to quickly show you how I did it for the facing, and I joined the middle part. So remember that this is totally optional. If you have cut your facing on fold. This, you totally have to skip this part. So this is what I have now, and I have 2 of it. So for me to finish up the middle part, I'm just going to fold it again once, and I'm just going to run a stitch and on it to conceal the edges. So having sorted this out, this is what we have. You can fold this part in if you want, but if you have an interlocking machine, you can also do that as well. So I have turned the neckline for this gown, and I'm just going to go ahead and show you what I did with the sleeves. So I used this notch, turned it to the other side, and then I turned the lower part of the peplum and went ahead to use my elastic to pass through it. So I made sure I joined everything. You can see how I joined the lower part as well. So I've gone ahead to do this sleeve off camera, so I'm just going to quickly show you how I did it. So I used my elastic, and it measured about 9 inches. I attached it first and then passed it through the tunnel, brought it out, and then attached it to this side as well, making it into a piece. So at the end of the day, I had about 5 inches there. So I'll be using 1/2 inch on each side to attach it to my gown, and that would make a total of 4 inches as the sleeve. So this is how I'm going to do it. By the side, I left about 1.5 inches. I did not run it all the way up because I wanted the freedom of moving it as I wanted while I attached the sleeve. So watch how I'm going to attach this sleeve right here. So for this sleeve, I'm just going to face it this way, right sides facing each other, pin it down, and then turn it over to the other side, and then I would hold that down and make sure that they are perfectly aligned at this point. And I'm also going to go in with my pins, and I'm going to pin everything down before I go take it to my sewing machine and make sure I seal that point. So take your time, make sure you are catching the facing for the neckline while you are doing this. So this is what I've done, and I'm just going to go over to the sewing machine, and I'm just going to put everything together. So this is what I have, and this is as good as done, guys. So if you're still here and you've not subscribed to my channel, please do well to subscribe, like, share, comment, and if there's any tutorial that you would like to see on this channel, please send me a message and I'll do well to show you how to do it. So thank you guys for watching. I love you for subscribing. Can't wait to see you in my next tutorial. Bye guys. And yes, if you do this, if you do make this, please tag me on Instagram at Ogodobycello.